What if I told you that finding your niche on YouTube is far easier than you think? Let me explain. If you're a creative like myself, you'll have a million things going through your head at once. You could create tech content, you could create car content, or you see the latest video from your favorite creator and decide that you can do it better. So you pivot to that type of content, and then you look at your channel's 5 videos later, and it's a complete mess and it's all over the place. It doesn't have a consistent theme and the videos are getting no views because the algorithm is confused. This happened to me very recently, and it can be very easy to fall into a never-ending cycle of not knowing what niche you should explore and make content on. It can also be tempting to just call it quit. Not to worry though, I've gone through the pain of this, so you don't have to. Well, at least it should make your life easier when you're trying to find your niche. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that I'm a big fan of putting pen to paper and getting your thoughts out on the ink. It may sound simple, basic, or even primitive when many people take notes on their laptop nowadays, or they're using an Apple Pencil to write down notes, like myself in work, or even if you're really out there dictating voice notes, but I think a pen and paper is the answer to a lot of our problems. There's something about it that really engages the mind and forces us to think through a problem. Today, I'm going to break down exactly how I've done this on a piece of paper, and you can too. This is the exact piece of paper I used a few months ago to find my niche. I'm going to walk you through it, but it's important to remember that your niche is likely to change, or at least move in a certain direction every 6 months or so, and you may have to revisit it. So, I started out by listing the types of content I watch and enjoy on YouTube. As I was making this list, I wrote a few keywords beside each creator to summarize the type of content that they make. To give you a few examples, I wrote down Ali Abdaal, who's predominantly a productivity type channel, Peter McKinnon, who does amazing cinematic videos, Nisha, who does amazing financial tip videos, and Alex Hormozy, who does fantastic financial and business videos. Once you have that list made out, and by the way, it doesn't have to be 8 like mine, it can be 3, it can be 20. Next, I wanted to find out what they all had in common, or at least if you can identify some common themes. And I came to the following conclusions. They're all extremely passionate about the content that they're producing, and they truly stand behind the advice and tips that they are giving. They have a core niche, such as finance, but they are not afraid to explore around it. So for example, if they're purely a financial advice channel like Nisha is, she also has videos that explore the best way to finance a car, how to get it tested for free. They aren't directly related to her main videos about personal finance, but it's within the realm of her niche, finance. If you can imagine a Venn diagram, it's one of the halves crossing over, and this allows her some freedom while keeping the content relevant. Following this, I listed out some of the key themes of the content I enjoy, and they were cinematic, beginner, finance, productivity, business, car sales, reviews, and camera. I then had to ask myself, what would I be good at that I do currently? Sometimes this can be a hard one to answer, as we can be quite harsh on ourselves and end up saying nothing. If you're struggling with that, try to look at your daily habits, what you do in your spare time, what you do for work. Are you good at it? Do people often come to you for a particular thing, and so on? Are you the go-to tech guy in the family, the artist, whatever it may be? I'd also recommend asking a family member, a partner, or a close friend and tell them to be honest about things that they think that you do well. All you need is a third-person view of yourself, and that should help because there are things that each of us are good at, and it may be easier for someone else to identify. A great way of looking at this is you can't read the label from inside the bottle. I believe I heard that from Ali Abdaal, but don't quote me on that. Next, we want to start thinking how we can combine some of these items. So what kind of crossovers are there? And like Nisha, branching out of her main niche, this will allow you to combine interests you may have and also generate content ideas. The key to having a successful niche at the end of this is asking yourself, can I create content on this for a year? If the answer is yes, then you've got the right niche. And if the answer is no, maybe you might want to consider another niche or try to include more crossovers to broaden the scope of your content that you could make. You can see here that I've marked if each item is limited or unlimited in the sense of how long I can make content on it for. You want to look at YouTube as a long-term gain rather than rushing through all the content in a particular area and then you have nothing for the rest of the year, and you've just built up an audience for the last while and they're so confused now. You also want to look at your niche from the point of view, where am I providing value? What is the value here in you watching this video instead of going to Ali Abdaal and watching someone else's video? Now, that's only a thing that you can answer. I can't answer it for you, but everybody has their own kind of unique advantages. You might be the best at editing. You might have intense knowledge about technology. You might be an expert from a major tech company on AI, for example. If you come across a niche, and let's say, for example, tech, you may be thinking to yourself that there are thousands of giant tech creators out there doing this exact same thing. Isn't it a waste of time to start and make my own content? You are correct that there are thousands of big creators out there, but ultimately you are your niche, and your unique take on a subject or your ability to bring a cinematic element to your content or your ability to deliver that content that already exists, whether that be a tech review, car review, or art tutorial, is why people will watch you and why they will ultimately subscribe. It will then get to a point that people are following you for you and not just for your content. You can see this with multiple different channels. Tom Cassell and his Syndicate channel once started out as a gaming channel, and then he transitioned into purely vlog-based content on his Life of Tom channel. His audience then followed him for his personality, and do to this day. A great example of your niche being you is Joe Rogan.
Make sure your baby's okay.
If you look at what he does, he basically made podcasting big on the surface level. But if you look deeper, each conversation is a long form, in-depth talk, people from all walks of life. He has Elon Musk on one day and then Joey Diaz on the next. Both are great people in their own rights, but are extremely different. One's a billionaire, richest man in the world. The other one's a comedian. Now my question to you is, what is Joe Rogan's niche? He doesn't just interview billionaires. He talks to everyone, and that's the beauty of choosing a niche. It can literally be anything, or the answer could already be in front of you. You just haven't seen it yet. I once came across a channel that literally was focused on just coffee, and down to the points of the type of filter you use, the type of machines you use, all this sort of stuff. And I'm not really a big coffee drinker. I drink it the odd time. But the fact that this person had so much passion, I ended up binge watching all of their videos, and that's the same with anything. You may think there's no one out there to watch your videos, and fair enough, but there's an audience for absolutely everything, and especially if you're passionate about it, people will just watch it for the sake of that passion. Remember, this doesn't have to be a massive decision that you have to swear an oath to. You can change your niche in a month, 6 months, or even a year. Or, as many YouTubers have done, you can gradually transition and bring your audience with you to a new one. Plenty of people do this and are extremely successful today. I previously mentioned Tom Cassell. Another example is Ali Abdaal. In fact, he's probably a perfect example. He started out doing content for medical students in Cambridge. He became a doctor himself. He then transitioned to kind of day in the life doctor content, and eventually into what he's doing today, which is productivity content. I can guarantee you that Ali didn't start out knowing he was going to end up being a productivity YouTuber, and probably one of the world's best at that. This all happened over a few years, and there's absolutely nothing stopping you from doing the exact same that he's done. There is a common element in finding your niche, and it's the fact that you must get started and get your content out there. As Ali Abdaal says, it's much easier to navigate a moving ship than it is one that's stationary. And even if, like me, you have to start out doing multiple different types of content and it looks all over the place, do it. At least you've made a start and have begun that journey of narrowing down what your niche could be. At the end of the day, you can go back and delete those videos. You can completely rebrand yourself if you find a niche that you're particularly enjoying. So never let that be a worry. There's another way of thinking about it, and it's the archaeologist versus the architect. The architect designs everything on a plan from the start perfectly, whereas the archaeologist will dig here, they'll move over here and dig over here, they'll move over here and dig over here, and then they'll eventually hit something, and then they'll start excavating around that. That's what you want to be. You want to be the archaeologist that tries a load of different things, and then you find one that you particularly like, enjoy, passionate about, resonate with, and you go with that one. With all that said, I'll leave you a Notion template in the description that you can download, and you can start taking action on this today, because I know just how frustrating it can be when you are starting out trying to pick your niche. So if I had this checklist probably 2 months ago, it would have made my life a lot easier rather than thinking up the checklist that I needed to work through and watching 100 videos on it. If you want to know how starting YouTube could change your life, click here. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, click here and subscribe, and also throw a comment down in the comments below and let me know what you thought of the video, what other content you'd like to see, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.